everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm glad you're here for our weekly show about board games and the people who play them. This episode is sponsored by Pandasars Games. They want to talk about a game that's coming out in a week called Control, CTRL, where you're trying to control over angle. Here, folks, the thing about this game is it's three-dimensional. You have these blocks and you're picking it up and moving around, moving your flag. It has a few rules. It takes minutes to learn, but there's a lot of depth for the whole family. So this game's coming out, like I said, in a week, and you can win a copy right now. You can enter a contest. All you have to do is email us at contest@dicetower.com. Put the word control, again CTRL, as a subject line and your address in the description of it. This contest is for North America only, but we're going to be giving out 3 copies of it, so check that out. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Dice Tower Now, check out dicetowernow.com. This is our podcast that we put out each week about news. There's a whole team. They're doing all sorts of interesting new sections there, talking to developers and things, and I want you to check that out. And we have a email if you want to subscribe to and find out what's going on with the Dice Tower, different events, different things going on, or videos and audio podcasts that you might have missed. That's at dicetowerdigest.com. But we got a lot of things to talk about, board games specifically. Let's get going. This week, very short thing here. What I found on the internet, we have something of the most popular, or I guess it's just called popular board games of all time from the last several years. One of those graphs, I don't know if you've all seen them online, those graphs where they show you things that go up or down as the years go by. Well, this one's board games. It's made from Board Game Atlas, so they use the website they own, board game prices and other information. So it's not completely accurate. Obviously, it's mostly looking at the hobby. It's not going to take things outside the hobby, so you're not going to see, Caca Alarm or other weird games that may have had a spike at some point or other. But it's still pretty interesting. You see the dominance of Wingspan and other things. And I personally find these kinds of videos fascinating to watch. So if you like watching them too, and you want to see one on board games, we'll have a link to this video in the description here. And that's what I found on the internet this week.
Hi everybody, I'm Starla.
I'm Mick.
And we are
our Family Plays Games. Yeah.
And today we're going to show you another one of our favorite family games.
Yeah. That is Alhambra from Queen Games. It won a little bitty award in 2003 called SPIELdigital.
Now, Alhambra is an awesome family game because it plays 2 to 6 players. So if you've got a big family, this is the game for you.
This is the game.
Now, Alhambra is a tile-laying game. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a city. And in your city, you're going to have different types of buildings. And some of your buildings will have walls. And you get some of your points to win this game by having walls.
And protect your city.
You gotta protect with your city.
You got to.
Now, on your turn, you're going to take a tile from here, and the only way you can do that is to be able to pay for it. So you have 4 different money cards. These are your money cards. They come in yellow, green, orange, and blue. So if your tile that you want is on the yellow spot, then you have to have yellow money cards in order to pay for this tile. And then you can either place this tile in your city, or you can put it on reserve to place later.
Now that one you don't want to place because that's that special kind of tile. Because that's the one that have no walls on it. Woo! That's that good one there. That's what you fight over. You fight over that one. You fight over that one.
I love this kind of tile.
Now also in the deck you have these scoring cards that once it hits you're like, oh, gotta stop, and you have to score according to the color of the tile.
That's right.
And that is fun.
That is fun.
That is fun because this is a family game.
It is a family game.
Now it might be a little older, but it's still a good one.
And you get all of your tiles out of this cute little bag. That's what comes to the game. So that's pretty much it. That's Alhambra.
That's it. Hey, you guys have a great breakfast, and we'll see you again later.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
Alright, well today we're going to be talking about Unearth. This is from Brotherwise Games. This is a dice placement game, but instead of just using, normal D6s, you're also using D4s and D8s, so you're like using half the polyhedrals, and I think it's really unique and a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and I think that the choices are really good too when you decide what dice you want to use and what card you want to put it on, because the lower dice give you the materials. What are those called?
Stones?
The stones. The lower dice give you the stones, but the higher dice give you the cards, and that gives you points, but you need the stones to build things, so you need everything, and you're like, what dice am I going to use? I don't know what dice I'm going to use, and it's fun.
Yeah, the theme of this game is you're going around and you are using these dice as your workers to kind of, discover these ruins that have been lost and to kind of rebuild these wonders using these old stones. And it's just kind of, the artwork is just beautiful in this game. The turns are just really seamless. They just flow really fast into one another. I just think this is a really unique dice placement game and also a ton of fun.
As with most dice games, this does have a little bit of luck to it, but you're still able to have a strategy with that. It's not pure luck and to where you can't plan ahead for anything. So That's pretty good. If you would like to see more of us, you can find us on YouTube or Facebook under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Everybody, this is Ryan and Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye everybody.
Guys.
All right, everybody, we're going to do something a little bit different here today. I have with me Max Metzler, who you may have never heard of, but he is involved with the Spiel convention, which is now called SPIELdigital this year, in Essen. And welcome to the show, Max.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
So a lot of people don't know much about the Spiel. How does that involve you, and what do you do there?
So Spiel is basically a very, very large convention or fair for board games, maybe the biggest one in the world. And it's very, very amazing. It's in October, and now we have Corona, we can't do it. And I'm working for Spiel now since 3 years, and it's a family business. So that means I have been there the first time with 4 months of age. And so I really absorbed always this energy, which is very, very special. And I started working in the company 3 years ago and doing all those things, learning from the ground up. And now we can do the convention, and we started SPIELdigital. And I'm super excited about this because actually I registered the domain SPIELdigital 1 year ago, and nobody knew what was going to come. And now I'm in the middle of all of this, and it's a crazy ride, and I'm super excited for it,
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, as big as this fair is, one of the biggest in the world, that it's family run, and so that's an interesting thing. I believe last year was the first year that we had met, and
Yes.
And last year you were kind of ahead of the game. You were already starting to do the digital stuff, not knowing what was going to happen this year. So
That's right.
How to take a huge convention like this and make it digital is a lot of work. So can you tell us a little bit about what it's going to be like?
Yeah, of course. Before I can also go a little bit into the prototypes, generally speaking, we were putting our heads together and we were thinking about, okay, what is Spiel about? Who is going to come to Spiel? And why is it so special? And what groups are there? And how do they interact with each other and so on? And it was a long process. It took 1.5 or 2 months of headache and also exciting ideas. It was like a bumpy road. And so we're basically now building this platform, which will be online guaranteed until the end of the year. We have to see how it goes, but if people like it, we will of course extend everything and make more out of it. So the idea is that board game publishers and other industry participants have a place there. They can present themselves. Then we will, of course, have all the gamers, and we also have a space for all the content creators, like YouTubers and so on. And we built something so that all of those groups can benefit from each other, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome. And if you want to, I can show you a little bit.
I think people do want to see that. Sure.
All right, let's go. So what you're seeing here, it's still a prototype, right?
Right.
So, for example, the galaxies here, they will all change. But maybe let's take a step back. So what you're seeing here are different theme worlds. This is for people who are maybe not so much into gaming yet, so they can get inspired. So they can go into the children games theme world or in the family games theme world, for example. But of course, we know that a lot of people who play a lot also come to Spiel, and therefore there will be a database with all the new releases, and you can search them and so on, as you like. And but let's say you just want to watch videos, or you want to see the exhibitors directly, like you can see here on the right side, or you want to get the news and maybe promotions. You can also check this stuff out. But I made a video where we go a bit more into detail into that. So I would just say, let's go into one of the theme worlds here. And this would be, for example, the family theme world. Then we have here all the hexagons, which are basically illustrating a little bit the hall plan here, or this whole image is illustrating the hall plans. And then we have different sizes depending on the booth size, let's say, the publisher books. And I can just, look around and see what I'm interested in. So all the publishers that are in this theme world obviously have games connected to this theme world. And then we have this little hotness factor, which is also just an illustration of the mechanic. In the end, it will look very, very different. And maybe I would like also to get the opinion of the viewers, if that's okay, because I have a prototype of how those theme worlds are going to look. Okay. And all right, so we are at the decision point here, and here, what you see here, they're pretty small, but we made something where they're a little bit bigger, and we would like to know what you prefer. So I think this is already looking pretty cool. Here, the theme worlds, or not the theme worlds, the hexes, they're a little bit bigger than what you've seen before. And in the next example, they're a bit smaller. And I'm just wondering what people think and in what direction we should go.
Let us know in the comments, folks, which one of those you like better.
Thank you, guys. One thing I want to mention, we have an amazing illustrator, an amazing designer basically on board who's doing this. And many of you guys have played games from him already. So the last game he made or illustrated was Catan Starfarers, for example. His name is Franz Vohwinkel. He's very, very well known, a German artist, and he's also the first German artist who actually designed cards for Magic the Gathering. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's illustrated a ton of games.
Yes.
From everything from BattleTech, like I said, basically the Magic the Gathering, Legends of the Five Rings from AEG, and I mean, there's so many board games that we could list that he's done.
That's right. So we should not go into that too deep because then the video will be too long. All right, let me go back to this theme world thing. Now you have a better idea of how this is really going to look. And from the user experience side here, generally speaking, we want to make it easy to navigate. And one thing people have already learned is our applications like Google Maps, for example. So in this thing, you will be able to zoom and move the card and really explore and get into that and get inspired. So I think that's pretty cool. And then you can, for example, check out Queen games. Let's see if that works already. Yes, it works perfect. And then you're at the virtual presence of this publisher. And you have a little text, you have the new releases, you have the event stream. So the event stream can be live streams, but they can also be podcasts, but they can also be gaming tables. And I think that's pretty cool because we have some amazing concepts here that bring down many, many different hurdles in terms of usability. So it will be very, very easy in the end. But I go a bit deeper into that in the video that we were talking about already, and therefore I just want to mention it.
Sure, we'll put a link to that video in the description, folks, so you can see more about this if you want to get more into it.
Perfect. So then you see all the gaming tables that are provided. You see all the media that was created around this game. This can be media from the publisher directly, but also from content creators. So, for example, Tom, if you do a cool video, a cool review, or whatever for a game, you can submit it and so on. And this way, everybody benefits. You will get more exposure. The publisher has something from it, and all the visitors can inform themselves as much as they want. So in this example, I can't click it yet, but let's say you want to check out a game. Then this is like the page of it. You get all the information. You can buy the game. You see what languages it is available in, and you see, of course, also all the gaming tables that are offered for this. And again, all the media that's created around it. So as you see, we really try to have a clean look and a great user experience here. And I think this will be really, really cool in October and already earlier when the platform will go online partially already.
And we'll announce when this goes online. Once it's ready to go, you'll be able to go on early. As you can see above us here, the SPIELdigital is October 22nd to the 25th this year. So, but like you said, some of the stuff will be available to see earlier than that, right?
Yeah, some of the stuff we will see earlier. Let me go to the beginning here. So the idea is to have something like a pre-show, right? Because there's so many games and so much content getting released and produced for Spiel, and it's almost impossible to look at everything in just 4 days. So therefore, a part of the website will go online in September, which will be, for example, the Media Hub. Right now, you only see the live program. We're still working on that. Once it's finished, you can imagine this a little bit like Apple TV or Netflix or Amazon Prime, so that you have basically different horizontal lines or categories where you can browse and get also inspired. Like, for example, rule explanations, playthroughs, interviews, and all of those things. We're still working on those categories, but we will deliver something useful, of course, and something that makes sense.
Well, thank you very much, Max, for telling us about this. I'm excited. Like I said, folks, this is still a couple months away. We'll be talking more about it as we get closer to SPIELdigital. Max, thanks so much. We appreciate having you on with us today.
Thank you, Tom, for having me. I'm super excited, and yeah, all the best.
Hey guys, it's Deanna, and today I want to share with you an educational board game that you can enjoy with your kids. Today I want to talk about a game called Sum Swamp. Sum Swamp is a pretty straightforward game. You have a different animal creature from the swamp that you're moving along this board, and you're practicing your addition and subtraction in order to get to the finish line. So on each player's turn, you're going to roll the dice, and you're going to get 2 numbers as well as a plus or minus. So your child will then solve the math problem and move their character either forwards or backwards on the game board. And then the play will just continue in turn order until someone crosses the finish line. Now for our family, I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and my older 2 kids can play this game just fine, but my 5-year-old, she needs a little bit more help when she's doing the math problems. So I wanted to share with you a couple different manipulatives that we have to make this game a little bit easier for younger kids. The first are these math blocks that we have as part of our Math UC curriculum. It's a really great way to just lay out the blocks and find the sum or the difference. Another simple thing you could do if you don't have math blocks would be to use an abacus. This would be another option to use for a younger child just to make the addition and subtraction a little bit easier. We have these little tiny plastic counters, and they're just like little clear circles, and these would be great tools to use for counting in the game as well. You can just lay out the number of items and have your child either add or subtract. So that is Sum Swamp. It has definitely been a game that I've enjoyed playing with our kids, practicing addition and subtraction. I hope you guys will check it out. I will be sharing another educational game with you next time. If you'd like to see more homeschool related content, be sure to check out my YouTube channel called To Cultivate. I have a whole playlist full of homeschool related videos. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of Board Game Breakfast, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi, it's Stella.
And Tarrant here.
We have a game, an escape room style game that we've been playing for a while.
And that's the Escape Room, the game. Very creatively named.
Yes.
Several versions came out early on with Chrono Decoder, if you've
Yep.
played this one. And it's now expanded into the virtual reality world.
Yes. So this is really good. So you play this with other games. Well, you don't have to. You can have a second phone. So there's a free app there. Escape room style. I find the puzzles really good. They're not too obscure, but not too easy. So this one you can play start, and then you try to find the puzzles leading to this 4-digit. Could be like shapes, numbers, keys, whatever. And then just like put it there, all 4, and then that
Tells
means
you whether you're right or wrong.
correct. So, and then you move on to the next envelope. So,
Yeah, so they've now... The base game was fully self-contained, non-app based, and it used that decoder. They've now built an app with the game because
Yep.
you do slot your phone into these virtual
this is
reality
really good.
glasses.
Yeah.
And you can interact with it. So there's a button on here which hits a thing that hits the screen, and it will activate things in the game.
Yeah, so one of the games that, because we play Unlock, Exit and so on, so this is one of our favorite go-tos as well. I don't know, I feel like it's slightly underrated. I mean...
I think it is underrated, and
Yeah.
I think you can get turned away by the quality of the box. It's not board
It's
game
not- yeah,
quality, but it does belie the
production.
quality. It belies the quality of what's inside it. So if you do like the escape rooms, do get on this one
Yes.
as well.
So, thanks for watching. We are on Meeple University on YouTube and Dash Tower for how to play videos and Pocket Playthrough. See you next time.
So what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, we're going to be doing a fun top 10 list this week. A top 10 one-hit wonders. Basically a publisher who's just had one hit out there. And so we'll be talking about those with special guest ProZD. We're also going to be doing a lot of different reviews. I'll be talking about Cosmic Encounter Duel. Finally, my opinions on the 2-player version of one of my favorite games of all time, Ride the Rails, Alma Mater, and of course, we'll be taking a look at Marvel United from Command, and perhaps a Super Secrets game we'll review this week. We'll see. I'm also continuing my series 10,000 and Below. I'll be reviewing another app. I'll be taking a look at Stick'em and Solar Quest and a few other things going on, so just keep all that in mind. Lots of reviews going up this week. And we're going to be doing a playthrough of Sonara on Tuesday, and we'll be playing through various games as we get chances to as we continue on going through the summer. So, of course, we got our podcast going up on Tuesday. If you never listened to the podcast with me and Eric, this time we're talking about our top 10 fauna games about animals, but there's a whole lot of other stuff in the episode. We review various games and things like that, and you can find that and a bunch of other podcasts at DicetowerNetwork.com.
Hey everyone, Anna Maria from Girls Game Shelf here. I hope you're having a fantastic summer, and depending on where you happen to be, maybe things are opening up at least a little bit. For us, that's not the case. So I'm still doing a lot of things online and via live stream, which has been actually kind of fun because I'm getting to touch base with folks all over the place and talk about a lot of nuances of gaming that we don't always get a chance to talk about. Recently it came up that I really like deduction games. I was naming off a number that I liked of just general games, and someone said, wow, you're really into deduction, and I kind of looked out across all the Sherlock Holmes and Clue-like games I have and thought, yeah, you know what, you're right, I do. And it's funny that was pointed out because when someone says social deduction, then I get a little leery because that's not a genre that I usually do super well at. I have a hard time keeping a straight face if I'm trying to tell a lie, and I can't always tell what everybody else at the table is thinking either. But as I started to dive into thinking of like deduction games I did come up with a few social deduction games that I do relatively well at and I do enjoy. So I wanted to share those with y'all today. So first on my list is Grim Masquerade, and this is a cute game in which you play one of several fairy tale characters who has their identity obscured by the person who is hosting a party for you all. And during the course of the game, you have to discover who everyone else is without having your own identity revealed. I really think this one's interesting because there's this kind of give and take with cards that builds into a little bit of a set collector that makes it a little bit more interesting than just the usual point the finger and name somebody. There's a little bit of strategy involved in trying to ensure that you don't get too many things while you make sure other people get the things that they don't want either. And I love the craftiness of that. Next is Obscurio, and this takes the mechanic of what is someone trying to convey through this picture and turns it to 11. Because not only will everyone at the table kind of be scratching their heads over whether or not a certain picture clue means a top hat or just the color blue, but there's a traitor in your midst, and that person is also trying to get you all to guess the wrong thing, and so it leads you down just completely wrong paths. It's hysterical, and much like something like Dixit or Mysterium, the artwork is just gorgeous and well detailed, so it'll leave you guessing. And finally, there's Tortuga, which actually plays quite a few people, so a lot of people can get on the action, and really kind of hammers home the pirate theme that's super hot this year. In this one, there's several different factions that folks can be part of, so it's not even just an are they or aren't they, it's a are they this or are they that or are they the other. So everybody winds up doing a lot of pushing and pulling against everyone at the table instead of trying to figure out who's on just one of two teams. Plus, I mean, it's pirates, and who doesn't love that? So those are my top 3 social deduction games that I actually don't do that poorly at. If you have a suggestion of one that I might enjoy based on what I've shared today, drop it below in the comments, and otherwise I hope you have a fantastic week. See you soon. Bye.
Hi, it's Ryan from Knights Around a Table, and this is The Secret Life of Board Games, a series where I interview board game developers about the Easter eggs they've hidden in your favorite games. Raise Arcana is a mage battle for 2 to 4 players. Designer Tom Lehman, who we've established in a previous episode is a gigantic nerd, sent me down a fascinating rabbit hole based on one artistic detail on a single card. That card is this one, the Philosopher's Stone. It was the ultimate goal of alchemy, an object or substance that could turn base metals like mercury and lead into more valuable stuff like silver or gold. It was also the key to achieving immortality. Notice that the border above the Philosopher's Stone card is different than all the other artifact cards in the game. That checkered pattern is a reference to the game's premium currency, gold. In medieval times, they used to calculate taxes on a big black and green checkered table, which looked like a chessboard. The French word for chessboard is échiquier, which is why to this day the person in the UK who's in charge of handling tax money is called the exchequer. When you transfer money to someone on a piece of paper, that's called a check, originally spelled check, which is a check against forgery. But the word check itself also goes back to chess, where it means control. You seek to control your opponent's king by putting him in check. The etymology of the word check can be traced back to the Arabic word shah, which means king. So we go from shah to check, which is why this is called a checkerboard, which is why this game is called checkers. Unless you're not American, then it's called drafts. The word draft, incidentally, used to mean to move or to pull, which is what you're doing when you pull a handle to draft a draft of draft beer, or when you pull cards in a card drafting game. I have more Raise Arcana secrets to share, but I'm all out of time. To learn more, you can watch the complete version of this video over at my channel, Knights Around a Table. See you there.
Hi everyone, it's Clara, and I'm going to talk about another board game that I haven't played, but I really want to play. So today I'm going to talk about a game from Thunderworks. Now Thunderworks put out Role Player, which is one of my absolute favourite games. You're rolling dice, you're drafting dice, and you use them to build a character like the beginning of an RPG. And if you include the first expansion, you can actually go out and fight monsters as well, which is really cool. Now I haven't played the new expansion yet, I'm looking forward to trying it at some point. Also recently I played another Thunderworks game called Cartographers. So this took the roll and write genre, and instead of rolling, you're drafting cards. But again, it was just something different from similar games. I really enjoyed it. Plus, I love this world that Thunderworks have built. It's this shared world that both games are in. And so Role Player Adventures, which is an upcoming RPG game, seems like a shoo-in, and I can't wait to play this. But actually, it's only just on Kickstarter, so I'm not going to be talking about that today. Now, it turns out that I also really love worker placement games. In fact, I had a huge cull. I don't have that many games left, and somehow I've ended up with 4 worker placements. So clearly I love worker placement. So if we take worker placement and Thunderworks, we get Lockup. Again, it's in this shared Thunderworks world. The artwork is beautiful, and it's a worker placement, so I should enjoy it. Do I need another worker placement? Well, this one seems a little bit interesting, a little bit different, because you're not just automatically getting the resources when you place your workers, you've actually got to outbid other players. So there's a lot more interaction, and also you can sort of power up your workers. Plus the board looks beautiful. So, yeah, what do you think? Do you think I'll enjoy Lockup? Do you think it's a game for me? Let me know in the comments below, and until I see you again next time, take care.
Okay, folks, I am a reviewer of board games, and I'll tell you if I think a game is good or bad. I'll tell you if I think a game is horrific. That's fair enough, I think, than if one of my own games gets the same treatment. And so for fun this week, I thought I would go through Nothing Personal and read the negative comments. Nothing Personal is a game that's designed by me and Steve Avery, although for the negative parts of the game, it is probably all my design. So I thought I'd take a look at these, talk about them, see my reaction to them, and see what it feels like to be on the receiving end of people saying bad stuff about one of your games. All right, so this one here says 2 plays and it's an okay, engaging game. Nice bits, but do not play with the original rulebook, otherwise you will go nuts. Instead, download revised rules a BGG user has put together. Secondly, you'll need replacement stickers for board errors, and those need to be mailed from GameSloot. So 4 weeks later, you can start and find a game with nice bits, rules with holes and non-obvious solutions, and a long, chaotic game where you are ultimately at the whim of the dice. It's an interesting experience with me for a unique mechanism, but not a game that I would say is essential for an essential collection. A 6 rated game as well as it's okay game, not sure I'll be playing them in the short term. But then they updated it, and they said, the only memory of this game is that it possibly has the worst rulebook of all time. Well, yeah, so I wrote the rulebook for this game, and I'm certainly someone who criticizes other people's rulebooks. I wrote the rulebook, I sent it out to literally hundreds of people. They sent it back with red ink. I sent it out, sent it back. I went over and over and over it again. Obviously, not good enough. Obviously, a lot of rules exceptions to the game. Obviously, again, a very poorly written rule book, and we now know a skill that I'm not good at. And I'm not sure that designers should necessarily write the rule books for their games. There are many people out there who can write good rule books, and we should have used one of them. This person said, not my type of game. Got to play at Gen Con with Tom V as the rules explainer. Yeah, well, you know, if I'm teaching the game and it's still not fun, that's not very good. Tom, you make some great videos and not so great board games. But I say, try more, eventually you'll bless us with a hit. Well, obviously that doesn't happen either. Let's see here. This game can be very fun, but that fun will depend on your gaming group. Sadly, for me, both groups I tried it with, I left feeling flat. I will not fault the game mechanisms on this one, but if you played a game like it says without any negotiation, this game will suck. And I agree with that part of it. It definitely is negotiating. He goes, what's mind-boggling is why would Tom Vasel design an overly long, mainly Eurocentric Take That game? You know, I designed the kind of game that I would want to play. I knew when I was designing it that people would hate it for what it was. You know, that whole take that, the whole negotiation aspect of it. So, yeah, I mean, that's what it is. I was expecting that. Here we got, it feels like a tedious way to end a friendship. I really liked this game after my first play and was sad when other players knocked it. When I finally got it back to the table, it crashed and burned for me too. I love the theme and the concept, but somewhere in the mechanisms, the game just doesn't work. There you go. Finally played this. What a disappointment. Warning before your first play, read the FAQ. Yeah, probably. You're noticing a trend here about the rules. I'm a big fan of the Dice Tower, and I'm really surprised by the type of beginner's mistakes in this game. My rating is a bit harsh, but it is in scale my surprise with the lack of professionalism. There you have it. I mean, obviously these things are a mix of designer and publisher for sure, but yeah. The rulebook's a mess. It's in the top 10% worst rulebook I've read. Fair enough. It's the first time a rulebook made me stop and scratch my head at the setup phase. Yeah. And again, you know, these things make sense to me because I know how the game works and play, but obviously not a good writer. And he goes in here to give many, many things here. The board misprint thing, that's another fascinating thing to me because the board was sent to me for approval. I looked at it, looked great, and there was mistakes on it from an earlier board. And they were changed, but then somehow they got reverted back, and I just missed it in my last check through. But that's on me. So I will keep listening to their podcasts and loving their videos, but I will not assume again that a great podcast makes automatically a great design. This one, it's too long for what it is. So there you go. Nice components, but sloppy development. Cards that are poorly worded and unclear about what to play. This person said, not very impressed by this one. Isn't terrible. Whew, good. But I feel the best elements have been captured in simpler and shorter games like Bonanza. I would never have occurred to me that those games were similar, but there you go. This game is way overproduced. That I disagree on. I think it's really well done, the production level of it. A lot of these say the same things. So those were the 5 ratings. Let's go down to 4. I'm sure these will be worse. Buyer beware. Okay, it's a bit swingy. There's a lose your turn mechanism in the game where you do nothing for 15 minutes. Very poor mechanism. I agree, although I thought when I was designing it that most people would not lose everybody, so you should always have something to do. Obviously, that did not always work. Too complicated for what it brings. The Godfather New Dawn does something similar with a 5-minute explanation. Sure. Let's see. So long as it's a thick-skinned crowd, it has yet to be a winner. But he says, twice I had a friend pull out their phone and purchase a game and it was over. However, it's not a game that anyone wants to play again after the first couple times. All right. A very average game. The game itself is a convoluted, chaotic mess. Invest a few plays first before you expect any meaningful experience. All righty. It's an okay game, not my cup of tea. Kind of disappointing seeing that a well-known critic was one of the designers in which the game should have been so much better. Well, I think we can see the adage of just because you can critique games doesn't mean you can design them, which is why most movie reviewers also do not direct movies. Valley of the Dolls, so on. Let's see here. Nothing Personal is a gangster-themed ripoff of Kremlin. I would argue that we weren't necessarily a ripoff of Kremlin. I definitely start with Kremlin. I made that really clear. But the game is extremely different, I feel. Now, obviously, if you don't like the game but you like Kremlin, you'll feel that way. I think Kremlin is extremely outdated with its mechanisms. But, of course, at this point, so is probably Nothing Personal. Okay, those are the 4s. We got to get worse than that. Let's go down to 3s. I really didn't care for this one at all. Endless negotiation, endless placing of influence markers. Really not fun for the amount of time it took to play. And definitely it's too long for what it is, and I wish I'd made it shorter. Rip-off of Kremlin. Love the art. I agree, art's great. The game? Meh. I guess I'd play this over Monopoly, says this person, if I had to choose. Thank you. Might be a good game, but I could not tell due to the terrible rule book. And it's another half-baked Kickstarter game, says this person. All right, let's go down to 2s. Too much luck in king-making. Incredibly tedious. I'll give you $1 to do this. I'll give you $1 not to do that. I'll give you $2. I've used the term mind-numbing before, but I've never literally had my mind go numb. It was a weird experience. I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh at these things, I guess. But I love Tom's show, but I hate this game. Nothing Personal. This is the king-making game. Might as well ask players to vote which they would like to win the game and save yourself 90 minutes of king-making. Whew. Okay, those were harsh. I know there's ones, but I don't think... Oh, there are some ones. All right. Maybe someone should do a review of this dud like this one, and they point to my review of Shadow Era and throw a planned scripted temper tantrum going after the designer and publisher. It should never have been published. It does nothing for the hobby, nothing personal. Nothing funny, forgiven about that review like many write it off to be. More of, I want to be a board game designer or one-off. There just isn't anything shining about this thing. Reminds me of William Shatner's singing career. You just do it because someone will buy the album on name only. So, yes, we can agree just because you can review games doesn't mean you should design them. This is a bad game. It takes too long and you'll need to hold back for the whole game. If you push ahead too early, you'll lose. There's a lot of games like that. I don't know that's necessarily bad. The game winner is picked on the last turn of the game. Save your money. The rules are very bad. You cannot read them. The game board needs stickers. You can see those are the two biggest things. Random, convoluted nonsense. Hey, they stole my phrase. Nothing personal. Total disappointment. There's nothing inside. All right. Well, I don't necessarily love that people wrote all that stuff, but it is what it is. I could also probably read some 10s and get some really nice comments too. It was certainly an experience designing a game. I've said before I have another game designed, but I don't think it's good enough to be published until I can find some way to make it better, to develop it. But I don't feel any burning desire to be a game designer. I had a game designed in my head. It came out. Steve Avery and I worked together. We published it. It was fantastic. I'm really glad to have done it. Reading these negative comments gives me some insight to what a designer/publisher feels when I rage against their games. But I still push through that, even though I know it won't make them happy. At the end of the day, I'm not speaking to them. I'm speaking to everybody else, the people who buy games. And yes, words can hurt, and we should be careful what we say. But at the same time, there is a gazillion games out there, and we want to make sure that people get the best possible games. Nothing Personal is out of print at this point. Well, there's a second edition that's in print, which I did not have anything to do with, and I know they fix and change things, so I haven't even played it yet. I'm sure it's a much better game now that my involvement in it is gone, and probably the rule book is a lot better. But I don't know. I just thought this would be interesting for you all to look at me. I do pay attention to what people say about my own game, and it makes you think.
Hey there everyone, it's Jen, the board game librarian, flipping some pages and pushing some cubes with my segment From the Page to the Table, where I pair a book and a board game together that share a theme. Poof, librarian magic. This week I'm taking a look at a comic book that was my introduction to a very popular DC character, and that was Aquaman, New 52, Volume 1, The Trench. I picked this mostly because I love Jeff Johns. Anything that he writes for DC, I will gobble it up and read it. And this was a particularly fantastic compilation, I thought, of an introduction to someone like me who had never read Aquaman before. In here, we are dealing mostly with the Trench, that very deep down kingdom of Atlantis that was lost, and perhaps the one that regressed the most, as they were former Atlanteans and something happened and they just regressed. So you're maybe going to think that I'm going to pair it with one thing, but I'm going to pair it with Abyss. You thought I was going to do Atlantis Rising. I'll get you next time. So Abyss, Bruno Cathala, one of my all-time favorite designers, Bombix, 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and 45 minutes. As soon as I played this game, it reminded me of The Trench. The artwork, the kind of feeling that you are deep down in the ocean, that these were former high lords, and you are playing lords and ladies for points here, characters. So much reminded me of Aquaman, The Trench. That is all for this week. Happy breakfast!
welcome to Survey Says, where we survey you listeners and we discuss the results. I'm Steven with Board Game Weekenders. It's just me this week, and we asked, how do you store your board game boxes? Okay, and this week's survey, it was a close one. We had just by one vote, mostly horizontal is how most people store their board game boxes. Now, me personally, this is how I store my board game boxes. I just have always done it this way, really. And I think a lot of this, for this question specifically, has to do with how your shelves look. And how the storage space that you have. It might, be easier for you to fit more vertically, or your shelves might fit it better that way. Or maybe you have a kind of a mixture of different storage options. So that's where you have, a couple people that might have it mixed horizontally and vertically depending on how they store their games. Now, vertically, the games, I think, do look a lot better sometimes, especially if you even face them kind of outward to show the whole game box. You can really have a really nice display that way. So I see why people do that. And a lot of the board game boxes, the text is kind of, they can have it be stored vertically or horizontally. So even the game companies, it kind of seems, know that there's kind of this clear mix between the horizontal and vertical boxes, how people store them. Now, another thing to think about with the storage is the components within the box. If you have those really nice inserts, if you do tilt it vertically, sometimes that can mess up all of your pieces. So board game storage is like kind of a whole nother, since this hobby just takes up so much space. How we store them is very interesting, I think. Thanks for checking out this week's episode. Let us know your thoughts on the results in the comments below. Look out for next week's survey on Twitter at BG Weekenders or on Facebook at Board Game Weekenders. Make sure to tune into next week's episode of Survey Says.
Hi everybody, I'm Doug Jr., and you're watching a Fellowship of Meeples with Doug and Doug Gaming. And I have a guest with me today. This is my oldest son, Robert. And Robert is visiting via FaceTime because he lives in Illinois and we live in Florida. Robert and I have played a lot of games together. And so we're going to see if I can pick the game that Robert would most want to play. So I gave Robert a little tour of my shelves just to refresh his memory. And I have made a prediction of the game I think that Robert would most want to play if we could play any game we wanted. Robert, do you have a game in mind?
I do.
And so I predicted Twilight Imperium 4. Robert, what game did you pick?
Twilight Imperium 4.
Did you really?
I did.
Awesome. I should have let you mention it first, so I don't think we set this up, but we didn't. Because this is Twilight Imperium 4 it's an awesome game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one that we can play very often because it takes a long time and it takes several people to really have a good game going. Cool. Well, I'd high five you if I could. So, awesome. Well, the people that have been watching here, they know that I don't get these right very often. You're only the second one that I got right. Well, thanks, Robert, for talking to me all the way from Illinois. And thanks for wanting to play Twilight Imperium 4. You're going to have to come down here so we can actually play it. And
I know.
Bring some friends and family with you. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us on a Fellowship of Meeples. We'll see you next week right here. So take care. Have a great week.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. Oh, wow, time is going. I got reviews to do. We got things to do. We're going to get going on that right now. Don't forget our contest. Enter and try to win a copy of Control. Don't forget to check out our channel this week. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your relatives. Dice Tower, place to learn more about board games. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.